In order to find an expression for voltage, we have to use the equations for voltage, current, and impedance. And since the circuit is just an RC circuit, there won't be any inductive resistance, which means that this term goes to 0 and the impedance just becomes this. And we can substitute Z into the current equation and substitute V for EMF, which is the same thing, just a different variable for simplicity. And then we can plug the current into the voltage equation. And R can be substituted with 1 over omega C because it's the resistance of a capacitor. And we can then substitute the equation for inductive capacitance into the voltage equation. So XC becomes 1 over omega C. And we can substitute, well, then we can multiply this C through into this equation. So resistance becomes CR, and then it leads to this equation here. So CR can be substituted for 1 over omega because of this equation here. You can rearrange it to be RC equals 1 over omega. And then when this C is multiplied through, the C in the numerator and the C in the denominator cancel out, and it's just left with 1 over omega. So this whole thing simplifies to just this right here, which is EMF over root 2. So then for part 2, the peak voltage can be calculated by using the 1 and the 10 in the given equations and plugging them into the equation that we just found in part 1. So then the highest voltage would be 10 over root 2, and the lowest would be 1 over root 2. So when the two equations were plotted in Wolfram, it's the given equation with just voltage and then the given equation with the voltage over root 2. So the shape of the two graphs are going to be the same. It's just the amplitude changes and it's sinusoidal functions. So with the root 2, it's going to have a higher amplitude, a lower amplitude than it would without the root 2. And the two graphs show that there are many frequencies that can be received, which is the alternation right here, the oscillation right there. And the application that I thought of was a radio station, because you need to have a lot of different frequencies that in a radio that can be played. So you can have different stations at different frequencies, so then you can tune the dial to the different stations.